there's an officer that literally did see stuff in the sky. And this would probably make a lot more sense than most of the others that we've been reading already and talking about. Maron, NC native, Smith has been a district law enforcement officer for the U.S. Forest Service, Pisgah National Forest, Grandfather Ranger District for more than 25 years. Part of his duties include the patrol of the district, keeping an eye out for anything unusual. Smith says he's heard tales about the lights, has seen thousands of people watching for the lights, and has talked to others who have seen the lights. And while he says he's never looked for the lights and never really believed in them, he's seen them.
Now, is he seeing...
Well, this is what he quoted. And this is what I got from the article. He said here, I saw them twice. The first time was at least 15 years ago when a fellow officer and I were using binoculars to check on some forest visitors. I was gazing across the bottom up toward Table Rock and saw a different light. Not so unusual, but different in the sense that it wasn't supposed to be there. When I turned to ask the other officer if he had seen it, he asked at the same time, "Did you see that light?" This all took place in a matter of seconds. So I said, yeah, it's probably just an airplane or something going across. We watched for about 2 minutes while it moved around. Then it was gone. It was a cloudy night, and the light was like nothing I had seen before. Doing a lot of dancing, like people say. It was there just a short time. It wasn't a bright light, and we wouldn't have seen it without binoculars. Smith explains, we were at Wise Man's View looking straight toward Table Rock. It was kind of south of Table Rock in an area we call the Chimneys. When we first saw it, at first I thought it was just someone walking a trail carrying a flashlight or lantern. But I know the area well, having seen there on foot so many times. I know where the trails are, and there are no way anyone could have covered the distance those lights covered in that short amount of time. So there's some... These are more... They actually... I could believe these stories a bit more.
But it could also have been a misidentified aircraft.
Well, that's what they said. They said that it may have been an... But the way it was moving would not have been an airplane. You would not see an airplane, like, dance around. I mean, that's what they said they were seeing. These lights kind of like dancing.
Okay.
Now, if we wanted to go the science route, someone maybe would have had a flashlight, but they would have had to have a powerful beam flashlight to literally do that.
It could have also been, like I've said...
Lights can't, like flashlights, you know, I've beamed a flashlight up in the sky. You cannot make a big, like, light to be seen in the sky. It
could have been an optical illusion. Also, something in town, the light reflected off, you saw it beaming off in the sky, someone got mixed up with it. As I've said before, it could have been anything and more than just a sporadic...
But this is coming from a police officer.
I know.
But do you see that this probably has more explanation than most of the lore legends?
And I respect that because he's not going around saying, I saw myself.
And his officer, and there was another officer with him. So 2 officers witnessed things in the sky that were like dancing around in this mountain area.
Right.
Now, yeah, like I said, a beam of light, but the fact that he was also saying people cannot go that far and try to cover that much ground and then do what they did, if that's the case. Because this officer's familiar with the territory.
But that's also something that got brought up in the podcast, that there are areas where people are like, well, people can't get back there. And then when they were doing their research, they were able to get back there. They just found a different way. Maybe
this was 15 years ago, so this is probably before people started doing that.
No, it was around the late 90s all the way up until 2000. Yeah, this would have been during, if not a little bit before, he saw anything.
So these two can go different ways.
Right.
Let's see, I think he says more here. The second time, 3 to 5 years later, was a crystal clear fall night when quite a few other people were watching. I was there in my law enforcement capacity, watching and listening, and I saw a similar type of light. It was different than the first time, but it was down underneath what we call Little Table Rock. Lower in the tree line, it moved around a little, then it was gone. There's no doubt in my mind that it wasn't a lantern, wasn't a flashlight, and wasn't a star. All I can tell you is that it was a light. I've probably been at this location at Wiseman's View thousands of times. And I've seen lanterns and flashlights, and I've seen lights from cities in the distance. The lights I saw were the Brown Mountain lights. So
Okay.
he's been there a lot. He's seen people in the distance, like what you were mentioning about the city lights.
Mm-hmm. And that's the more credible. And like I said, also in that they said that there are 2% unexplainable, they can't explain anything, lights.
Yeah.
That there is about. Now, could that have been maybe a brush fire?
Well, he says he's seen lights at this mountain, but what he saw these two times he's seen these lights was something else.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Ask if what he saw might be Belinda, the woman that got killed, and as far as professional, laughs heartily and shakes his head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I would understand the doubt there.
Yes, it's better to not fully believe.
But the cop, I can probably believe a bit of what the cop said.
Yeah.
Because why would he lie? He's been there.
I don't think he lied. He probably just saw something and didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and so we probably won't know what the light was exactly.
Yep.
But for other accounts from these historical legends, that's debatable.
Yeah, oh yeah, that is 100% debatable, and probably not real.
Journalist Dane Smith, no relation to CW, grew up near Asheville surrounded by mountains and tales of the lights. His mother, who lived in the Squirrel Creek and Cranberry communities, often spoke of the mysteries of Brown Mountain. And he also liked the tune Legend of the Brown Mountain Light, made popular in the early 1960s by country music singer Tommy Fairley. But Smith says the lights weren't all that mysterious. People I knew didn't consider the lights to be all that unusual. Anybody can see them, and if you spend time looking for them, you will see them. When I was in high school, it was just something we did. There wasn't a lot to do at the time. Get a group together and drink a Cobb's Creek beer or one of those Falstaff beers out of the Tall Horse container and just, they went there and drank. So if they were going to see something, they would probably be pretty out of it. Maybe that helped influence what we saw. So some people may have, what you were suggesting. I could understand people were very drunk then. People were going to see things.
And the fact that there's nothing else to do, so you have a bunch of people, even if they are not drinking.
And basically lie, like, oh yeah, we saw so-and-so, even though they were intoxicated.
And this is how the rumors and stuff get spread.
And former Banner Ilk resident Ben Calloway says, fairly eerie. Watching the lights go up, they were kind of hazy, the size of a small street light, at 50 to 100 yards. And it was fun to see them as a kid. Everyone knew about the lights. It was just part of growing up in the area. Mrs. Viola Carter, now of Kingsport, grew up in Montezuma, North Carolina. She recounts her favorite Brown Mountain Light story. I married a man from Tennessee who had never heard of the lights, and I was very anxious for him to see them. Almost every time we would visit my parents, they and I would take him to see them. Night after night, we would sit in the car watching for them, but not even a tiny flicker were we able to see. My husband did not think they existed, and he constantly teased me about my vivid imagination. Then one Christmas, on a bitterly cold night, was the clearest sky I have ever saw. We went again, and to the utter amazement of all of us, we saw the most spectacular display of lights that I have ever seen. The entire top of Brown Mountain, from one end to the other, looked exactly like a big city, with every light glowing brightly. In addition to normal colored lights scattered among them were red, green, and yellow lights. Every minute or two, lights here and there would go up 100 or 200 feet in the air and explode into a brilliant fireworks display. My husband was astonished, and he never again teased me about my imagination. Okay, so this was on a Christmas night, a cold day.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were discussing, well, okay, here's my only issue. It was nighttime.
Yeah.
If the sun was coming up slightly, I would understand it hitting some rocks that could reflect lights. Because I watched an episode of Dr. Stone. There was a particular rock, like, I think it was like in that episode. Have you seen that episode where the sun hit the rock and it made its color? Okay, I could see that, but it was a nighttime. So that's doubtable.
But they said it was Christmas. What if it was a Christmas show thing that they were doing?
Well, would they do fireworks on Christmas night?
I mean, it could have been locals shooting fireworks off for all you know. And they don't.
Yeah, this is a little bit.
I mean, it's just
kind of like it's a little confusing because it could be either some people doing fireworks, but on the other hand, it could have been something going on in the mountains with lights.
She also could be getting her days mixed up. They were down there for a few more days, and they were down there for New Year's, and someone shot off fireworks, and she was mixing the two up.
I mean, the only time I would get things mixed up is when I'm a little kid. When I was a little kid, I would get certain things mixed up with what I saw back then. Now, not really. I remember the dates of so-and-so when that happened, and so-so when this happened.
Yeah, but
I cannot see really adults getting it mixed up.
If it was like 10 or 15 years ago, and you're not paying attention to that day very much, you may just mix it up.
Yeah, this one's a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to deny that they saw something, but I'm going more with the law enforcement.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah. Like I said, like it's better to keep a more skeptical eye with everything than to than not to focus on anything or just to overbelieve.
Yeah, so the lights frequently begin as a red glow, flaring into white. They can also appear as orange, blue, green, or yellow. A light can last from 6 seconds to over a minute, especially when floating into the air over the ridge. Also, rather unpredictably, one orb can divide into several, the smaller ones eventually combining to form a large one again. They might seem to ooze around the trees and drift over the ridge, dwindle and fade away, or simply wink and vanish. Okay, so here's my thing about orbs. Yes, I've watched Unsolved Mysteries. I've seen them capture these orbs that float around.
Those are different types of orbs.
What of their souls? What if there's souls of people that have died there?
I mean, they said dripping, and dripping goes more for natural, like fungus or insects, and breaking apart. And then
did they say that?
I believe it said it was dripping, and it looked like phosphorescence.
Oh, let me see.
So that gives more of a natural thing, and what you're talking about with orbs are usually just dust particles on the lens of the camera with the light flashing near it.
But the fact that in their episode it triggered an alarm, dust can't do that and bugs can't do that.
Alarms can have errors.
I don't know. I can't. That's one thing I would doubt you on that. But
errors.
No, it would ooze around the trees and drift
right,
over the ridge, dwindle and fade away, or simply wink and vanish.
You know when you cut a tree, sap will come out of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something like the blue ghost fireflies
okay,
floating around, right, and one of them gets really close to the tree, and then it will brighten that and stuff.
The lights are reported in a still more variety. For example, as red and white shooting lights, the fey array of lights dancing before the slopes of Brown Mountain, and like flaming balls shooting from a Roman candle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As well as multicolored orbs of light that appear to rise higher and higher in the air, sometimes darting about, sometimes zooming straight up the slopes. They are sometimes moving so fast in such numbers that it is impossible to count them all. Some lights fade away as they rise. Others, however, expand as they ascend and then burst in midair like silent fireworks.
Actually, saying that is actually interesting because you know what they could actually be?
Okay, what do you fireworks?
Fireworks. And if you're saying, well, where's
But they
the
said
sound?
they're moving pretty fast. There's no
Right.
sound.
But there's a reason for that. If you're farther away than you think, you're not going to hear the sound. If anything's there and it's muffling anything, you may not be able if it's far enough away.
I could hear fireworks pretty far from where I live. Every 4th of July because it scares my dog, for one thing.
Right.
That's why I don't know whether or not they're fireworks.
Are there also trees blocking it? Possibly a town?
Are you sure fireworks could, like, the sound of it would not...
No, it would carry. It would carry. You would hear a little bit, but you may not be able to distinguish. You may just think it's background noise. If it's far enough away. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying if it's close up. I mean, but if it's far enough away and there's a mountain and there are trees and there's stuff muffling that sound, you're just going to hear a little rustling.
Okay, that is an interesting way to put it.
Right.
But still, fireworks are pretty loud.
Right. Or what if there are flares?
Don't flares make sounds too?
Like I said, muffling, military flares, higher up than you think. If it's higher up and then going down, it may just...
Mountains, I feel like, would carry the sound pretty far, and you could hear it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know if they're really fireworks.
Well, maybe we should go over there in the summer and try it out.